This quote was inspired by our speaker today. Usually I'll see her Instagram posts and the creative work that she really creates, and it's truly inspiring. And if you're not following Rim as yet, I suggest that you go and check her out on Instagram. She has some beautiful art pieces. And this was a quote she posted by someone else. And I was thinking about, creativity and how it applies. And I put my own remix on it. And it is, in order to become the most creative version of yourself, you must accept and love the least creative version of yourself. And this rings true to me personally because, growing up as a kid, most of my siblings and my uncles were very artistic. Yeah, and they could have drawn things that I would never imagine myself to be able to do. And, drawing and carpentry is a big part of our family. However, I was like that black goose where I just didn't have that skill. However, as time went by, I started realizing that there was another form of creativity that I was good at, that I was missing, and that was using my voice. And what I realized as I start accepting the part of me wasn't as creative, I could start focusing on the strengths that I have to use creatively. So I'd like to leave this quote with you as we're joining the session.
Hi there, Adrian here, and this is a video from a Zoom session that we do. We do these Zoom sessions every Sunday and we take questions and answers from the audience. Some of our students, some of our members. We never know what questions are coming up, so I'm always excited to do these sessions and I hope to see you at one of them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and check out the other playlists that we have. Thank you, enjoy.
Now, Rim, I'm not going to pronounce the last name. She would help me with that. Yeah, I don't want to do any disaster here. But Rim is the founder of Empowered Sensitive and Creative Retreats and Podcast, which provides a safe and nurturing space for inspiring sensitive soul to heal, to creative, and empower them to go after their dream. Now, Rim is a trained artist and an NLP practitioner. And today she's going to share with us how to harness your sensitivity and creativity to strive. I just want to thank you so much, Rim, for sharing this space with us today. And I just want to hand the presentation over to you. Welcome.
Thank you, Dina, for this introduction. And it's interesting what you said, like this story. That's something I would talk about being super sensitive, is like catching up on all signs and then making them mean a lot of things. So yeah, we're gonna talk about this. But what I wanted to say is, like, when you shared that when you were a kid, you felt like a bit self-conscious because you didn't have the artist skills that your family members had. Well, I didn't. I mean, I did have, but I didn't have the proper ones. You know how kids are often plated for drawing neatly and coloring in the line, and my elder sister, she was like perfect, everything, like beautiful, very artistic, and but in the kind of harmonious way. And me, was all over the place, getting out of the lines. And of course, my parents, they laughed about it, they joked, they didn't say that, but you know how you sometimes you kind of understand that things are not right, and you don't tell you get this self-conscious. So I was self-conscious that maybe I was not that enough because messy. But then when I grew up, once I accepted that, okay, maybe I'm not very neat with my lines and my things and my colors, and a bit blurry and a bit chaotic, but actually maybe it's part of my strength. It allowed to open my mind maybe, and to get out of the structure in ways that I don't think about. So yeah, I resonate with you. So yeah, so today's topic is how to have your sensitivity and creativity to thrive. And that's a very dear topic because it's when I myself accepted I was a sensitive person and creative that I was able to thrive, because before I was trying to push it aside, push it away. I was still a bit creative, but then I realized there is creative and creative. So now what I'm really doing with my mission and my work is to explore possibilities and instill and play and wonder in my client, in my community, and to inspire people to be open to all sorts of possibilities and to see things, to see the everyday with different eyes. Because so often we try to live in a project the future of the big goals we will reach, of our big ideas. And then often we get to see that there is already so much beauty and magic in the everyday. And when we focus on this, when we tune in to the every magic, thanks to our senses and thanks to our creativity, that we can create much more magic in our life. So I will start by telling a bit briefly about me. I started my career working in fashion, which was a creative career, because for me that was super important. It was my childhood dream. I could not live without beauty, self-expression, creativity. All of this was magical for me. And at the same time, I had very strong sensitivity and intense emotions, but I was not aware of that. I just didn't know. And I thought I'm cursed. There's something wrong with me because I feel everything so intensely that the everyday life is sometimes is really heavy, very tiring, because so much information, so much things going on inside. And that led me to a lot of overwhelm and of burnouts. And after having so many burnouts, I realized, okay, things have to change. Something that doesn't work here. Maybe I need to evaluate what is a career of my dream. What is my dream? Like, then I thought, is having a career of my dream the same as having the life of my dreams? And because I was working on all these creative environments with people doing things they love, or at least they're supposed to love. But yet there was a lot of toxicity, a lot of a lot of hardship. Like, people really not being happy. They didn't seem to be happy. They didn't seem to be thriving or fulfilled, even though they were being artists or being creative. And that's when I realized, I understood that actually it's not the same. Being creative in your life is totally different. Of course, it can be inspired by the creative career, but it's not the same. So often creative people and artists, I mean, in the industry, they put all of that, all of their senses and their creativity in their work, but they forget to apply it to us. And that was my consultation. It took me many, many years to realize and to really accept that, because it was really hard to believe. But yeah, that was my experience. And that's when I realized that I'm a HSP, which is highly sensitive people, high sensitive person, sorry. And I did a lot of internal work, and I finally accepted that being very sensitive and having a lot of emotions was actually a gift. Because it allowed me to see what was wrong in my environment, for example, to see that just pursuing the career without thinking about your well-being is not helpful. It's like going to a dead end. So then I began an experimenting phase and trying to see different ways, like how could I apply creativity to my life, to my well-being? Can a creative design practice, what I've been doing for many years, can it be adapted to daily life? And at that moment, I discovered NLP and hypnosis. I took the NLP course with Dino and Adrian, and this was amazing because I realized, wow, actually there is a science, there is a kind of study of senses, and like showing how senses can access the subconscious and how it can lead to better intuition and creativity. So for me, that was an amazing discovery. And I began to practice that, and then to combine it to my creative practice, to art and everything. And that led me to experiment, to find more clarity, to feel more authentic with myself, to be allowed to be able to be more vulnerable, which is quite hard, I think, in our days and times in our society. And to accept that, I'm sensitive, like not being ashamed to say I'm sensitive, when before I was so afraid that people will find out I'm sensitive. And that acceptance led me to feel more fulfilled and thriving and find voice. And that's how I created the retreats and the podcast to inspire and empower others. These are just some examples of the past. So before, I want to explain to you what is an HSP, because maybe you're not familiar. Like, is there anyone around you, amongst you, who knows what is an HSP? Have you ever heard this term?
I think the first time I came across this term is from engaging with your content. So this is like my second time hearing about it.
Okay. Anyone else?
I've heard about it as well, actually. And I know they are kind of very sensitive people, especially their emotions. They feel it very sensitively. And I could relate to some of the concepts in HSP as well.
Okay. Yes. Yes, it's a spectrum. It's not all black or white. It's a spectrum. There are a lot of criteria, and one can relate to some of them. One can relate to all of them. It depends. So you don't need to relate to all of them to be an HSP. And it's an acronym that it's not acronym, but it has been discovered by Dr. Elaine Aron in the 90s. And HSP, the three basic things are the depth of processing. So it means to process information very deeply and with thrilling. It's not like we try to focus on it. It's just naturally we take in everything, which can lead to slower decision making because there is so much coming into the head. There is a lot to sort through. Then there is overstimulation, which is noticing everything, and that can lead to also exhaustion. And actually, HSP have a more sensitive nervous system than non-sensitive, like than the average person. That's why also they get so sensitive. This is the nervous system. And then the emotional reactivity. So it's like feeling more intensely. The highs, the positive experience can feel very high, and then the negative experiences can feel very, very low. But actually, you don't need to be an HSP to benefit from tuning to your senses and your emotions. This is valid for everyone. Maybe the role of the HSP, because they feel it better, higher, so more intensely, it's to kind of say, hello. It's like, hey, remember to tune to your senses and your emotions, but everyone will benefit from that. The main challenge about sensitivity, regardless if you're a sensitive person or not, there is in our society this idea that sensitivity is flawed, it's weak, that it's not the ideal for culture. So often we hear, like we say to children, or we hear children being told, toughen up, grow a tough skin, you need to be strong, don't cry, why are you being so sensitive? All of these things. And okay, some people might not feel really, some people don't have much sensitivity or don't have a lot of empathy, but usually as human beings, we do. And we tend to kind of rein it in, to kind of block it from developing, because we don't want to feel weak and to appear weak. So we kind of often we develop a sense of shame around it. So it can lead to feel awkward, really. Honestly, I still feel awkward sometimes when everybody's like something is happening and people don't seem to notice so much, and I'm like, but now I'm aware, so I don't make it mean anything about me. So I think that could be also useful for you to know that. And when you connect to your sensitivity and your senses, you can be more aware of what's wrong. You can have develop your imagination, which means you could imagine lots of possibilities, all the good things that could happen, but also, the reverse is, well, maybe you will see, the more you think about scenarios, the more you can see what goes wrong as well. So that could stop people from going too much into that, and instead rely on a sense of logic and being rational to get this sense of control. And often people try to avoid connecting to their emotions because they want to please others. They kind of, so often we are praised as children for doing the things that people want. Oh, good girl, you've done this. Or good boy, all of these things. And then therefore we tend to develop this people-pleasing aspect. And all of this, what I've just shared, can lead to overwhelm. So bypassing our senses, bypassing our sensitivity, bypassing our emotions, our intuition, it can really lead to a kind of block in our system. Are you like, I would be curious, I would love to know some of you, like amongst you, your experience with overwhelm. Like, how do you feel when you feel overwhelmed? How does it show in your body?
In my case, when I feel overwhelmed, I sort of feel I just want to walk away, and I feel like my mind is foggy. I don't have sort of the mental focus to sort things out, and it takes some effort to keep on persisting in order to keep going. So it just feels like block or stuck. Actually, I'll give you one simple example. I have collected lots of information documents on my hard drives in my computer, and I was trying to sort them out, and there was so much information, like literally I was like, there's too much to do. It was very overwhelming. But yeah, so for a moment I just wanted to say, okay, you know what, just give up.
You want to drop it. Yeah. Is it like everything becomes blurry in your head? It's like a twirl.
Yeah, it's like a twirl. It's hard to describe. Like it's like a twirl, it's like, oh, it's a bit discouraging, but then I mean, what I've learned to do when I feel this kind of feeling is just break it down, so for example, in my case, for this particular situation, when I had so much information on, like, I have like 5 different hard drives with the courses and my photos, my documents, all the stuff that I had ever accumulated for like the last 20 years. So I said, hey, just start one at a time, so I broke it down into small steps, and I was just doing so one a day, and then a second day, a third day. When I broke it down into small chunks, then it was not overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Yes, definitely. I've experienced the same as you. I tend to want to do things fast when I'm enthusiastic about something. I want to get it done. And then there's all of these things, and I'm like, so much information, so much to do. And then like you, I want to just, I just want to shut down. and then remembering to do it step by step a little bit, and then it gets much easier. I totally agree with you. This is super important. And that's why I think it's good to adopt a kind of playful way, like not be stuck, like, you have to do it right now. Be more like if you let go of the idea of the result, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to take it day by day and see where it leads me, a bit like an exploration. And so prepare in advance. Have a little bit time so that you can just do it just a little bit. Then it makes it much easier. And actually, I think you enjoy more the process as well.
Exactly.
But what something I'm interested to talk about is the signs in the body, because very often we focus on how we feel or what we think in our head, but we forget about the signs inside our body. And if we were paying attention to the small signs of overwhelm, the beginning, it doesn't have to be huge, then we could prevent it before it appears, before it becomes too big, and then before it leads to burnout. So
there's an interesting share in the chat. Now you're talking about body. I see Matteo shared. He says, got discomfort, fast heartbeat, and feeling of sweating.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think he sent the message directly to me accidentally, so I just wanted to read it.
Thank you, Dino. I would encourage you to, maybe we can do a little play right now, just very quickly. Visualize something you have to do, or something maybe you have a deadline for something or a goal or whatever, and there is a lot, and try to tune in just a few seconds and try to see where you feel it. Where is it in your body? And breathe. For me, did you notice immediately I was putting my hand here? Just thinking about the overwhelm. I had my hand on my head, and I was put my head like this, bending down and crouching my shoulders. So already I'm kind of closing my body, and I could feel I had difficulty breathing. I could feel my throat is getting a little bit constricted, and I could feel it in my heart as well. Like my heart is feeling heavy.
For me, if I may say, it's my lower chest and my stomach. I could feel it in my stomach, and it was like a weird feeling, and. I mean, one thing I appreciate with what we're doing here is I kind of start feeling like I'm not alone in this. There are some people who are actually also going through the same sort of things. It's a natural human emotion, I think, and so I feel it in my stomach and in my lower chest. You feel like you want to shrink. You don't feel like brave and strong, right? So your body structure changes, your posture changes.
It does, and it's important to remember, you've probably seen people who are a bit older and who you can see from their posture that they've been overwhelmed a long time in their life because they become like this. And for example, that's an example of, as you say, it can show a different way, but so I would encourage you to tune into your body. So whenever you feel this constricted energy, breathe and open up again. And this leads me to the problem that many people do, that we are taught to do, I think, in our society. Of course, it depends of your particular story, but I would say overall, I lived in many countries in the world and I've experienced the same. So I would say it's safe to say it's like human. So like human thing is to try to push like to avoid and push. So often we avoid that we overwhelm. We try to push through. I've got to finish this thing. And I think the strategy of avoiding to move away from the problem is actually sending a signal to the subconscious that we're in danger, which is why we get this short breath and that we crouch, because our subconscious is trying to protect us. It thinks we are in danger. It's like the fight or flight or freeze response. And this makes us even more stressed. So, this behavior, this adaptation of the body is great when we are in real danger, because it gives us short, intense energy to get us out of danger in a safe place as fast as possible. But honestly, how often is the problem that life-threatening? I think it's very rare, because it doesn't threaten our life at all. It's just what our brain thinks. So, like some strategies that I think are I've done all of them. So it's like overdoing. If only I could do more. You're frustrated because you're overwhelmed, and when you're overwhelmed, you start to walk slow because your brain is foggy. But then you try to keep going. I've got to finish this. And it's like tying your self-worth to your productivity and your busyness. And, it's like you forget everything. You forget to eat. You forget to go to toilets. You forget to rest, to breathe. That's kind of dangerous, and it blocks creative energy totally. And then there's another method, which is I'm not a procrastinator. Not doing anything is not right. I'm not one of those person. And then another method is like totally the reverse. It's like apathy. You feel so paralyzed that then you don't do anything. Like, I don't know. And when you say, I don't know, automatically you block also the energy. Like just when I say, I don't know, like this, I could see my muscle tense here in my throat, and I could feel like I'm closing in my stomach. I'm closing the flow of energy. It's energy of resistance, doubt, and fear, and that's not helpful at all. So these strategies that I've just talked about, they lead us to feel really bad. We feel fear, frustration, self-loathing. We don't feel good about ourselves. We can beat ourselves up, and then we can feel shame, anger, judgment, desperation. That leads to like a never-ending loop. Imagine the hamster on the wheel. I've got to go faster, more. And that's totally useless. Creativity, good ideas, possibilities cannot flourish in these conditions. Like if you imagine nature, imagine a garden, plants will have to grow in those circumstances. It's impossible. It takes time, and they need space and time and rain and sun and all of this in order to grow. It's the same for us. So why do we do that? I think it's a very human thing. We try to avoid failure. We're scared of not being good enough. We also tie what we do and our achievements to our ego. Therefore, if we don't achieve, it means we are not worthy, we are not valuable. We are scared to be ostracized from society, to be pushed away, and also these emotions of guilt and shame that are instilled in us since childhood, that they don't help at all. So yeah, that leads me to something you probably heard is the only way to overcome fear is to feel the fear and do it anyway. And in that case, I'm talking about the fear. Which fear? Is the fear of being weak or being perceived less than or inadequate, the fear of being overwhelmed, the fear of taking time, of being slow. And instead, imagine like everything I described before. Imagine if instead you can feel serene and doing things you love and feeling in harmony with your environment. And feel like when you do things, it's out of love, out of positive energy. You feel every time you're doing something, you have this expansive feeling instead of constricting. It's like doing things more because I want to rather than I should do. That totally changes the energy. And that is what we call alignment. And alignment is, for me, it's the same as creative flow. Alignment allows creative energy to flow through our body. So it's when you feel good. Sorry for the noise. It's when you feel good, no matter what happens around you. It's actually not depending on how fast you work, how much you do, how much money you earn, how big is your house, if you've achieved all the goals you're supposed to achieve by whatever age, and all of these things which are society constructs. I'm not saying you need to totally forget about this and not achieve anything, not at all. It's totally different, but it's using a different compass for doing the things you're doing. And this compass is an inner compass. It's not an outer compass. It's not the outer factors. It's about how you feel inside. It's really tuning in. The first step is to accept. Accept that you're overwhelmed, for example. And when it's the overwhelm, accept how you're feeling. You cannot do anything about it. As we just saw, if you're overwhelmed and you beat yourself about it, you're going to be more overwhelmed. So instead, just accept it. That's how it is. And you can also kind of dissociate from yourself and see yourself as an overwhelmed person and like as a witness it. And loving yourself in the state of not being, even if you're still fighting and like, no, I don't want to be overwhelmed, I have so many things to do. It's like learning to love yourself in this state. And then patience, developing patience. Not often, but I would say quite often, the best action is to slow down. Have you noticed sometimes when you try to rush, maybe you don't get things done so well, and then, like, for example, you take a nap, and then imagine you're really tired, you have a long day, and you try to push through the afternoon, and you're sluggish, and nothing seems to go right. But instead, you decide to take a little nap, and then after that, your energy is like on fire, and everything gets done much faster. It's kind of counterintuitive in a way. I mean, I think animals get it right, and nature gets it right, but we humans, it has become counterintuitive to stop, because so often we think time is running, kind of, and then we're like, wait, what? I have to stop? I have to slow down? I have to not do anything? Really? It can feel a bit scary, but it's so useful. So this is a process, like it's not like it's a process, like all the different steps that I found are so important in order to thrive and to feel fulfilled and more serene. The first step is safety. It's to instill a sense of safety and calm. As we saw earlier, when we feel like when the subconscious feels in danger, then it kind of it doesn't work in our interest. So it's really important to make sure we feel safe, our body feels safe. When we feel safe and calm, then we can access our inner wisdom much more easily. We don't need to, we can know, we have more clarity. And then that allows us to develop our creativity. And then the other steps, today I will talk about the first three. Then there is also reframing. When you have more, access to your inner guidance and more creativity and you feel safe, it's much easier to reframe what's going on around you and to see things with different perspectives. And all of that will allow you to show up with more authenticity. You get to know yourself much, much better, and to sort out what's yours, what's not yours. And all of this leads to flowing and thriving. So the first part is regulating the nervous system, is learning how to build strong foundation to feel safe. The exercise that Gino had us made when we started is a way to regulate. You know, the soft breathing and closing our eyes and stopping for a while, stopping our thoughts. It helps to escape the freeze or flight response. So as we just said, like, take a break. As soon as you start to find your breathing constricted, and if you find your thoughts looping, this is a sign. Take a break. Say, even don't try to say, no, a bit more. No, take a break. It doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe just, what I do very often is when I feel like I'm so tense and everything, I just take 10-second or 15-second breaks, and I put my hand here on my heart. Personally, I like this one. It makes me feel safe and taken care of. And I breathe. Just doing this a few seconds, and then already you feel better. And a great way to prevent overwhelm is to do this on a regular basis, so you can prevent the accumulation of information. Breathing, super important. It's like without breath, we cannot be alive. It's so important. And that helps to soothe our nerves. And okay, the scientific thing, I'm not a scientist, so yeah. They say, like, there are a lot of studies. I took some breathing exercises, and we noticed that a longer exhalation is really useful. So it's to practice this. You can practice this at home. It engages your vagus nerve. And oh, I don't know why it sounds. Okay, doesn't matter. Then, okay, hold on. Technical issue here. How do I do this? Sorry. Maybe I need Dino's help. Oops.
Can you tell me what's happening?
Oh, no, I think I know. It's because after this slide, I have a video, but somehow it started playing before I went to that. So it's okay. I just put stop. I put pause, and I think it's okay now. Sorry. So
okay.
Another way to regulate the nervous system is to learn to process your emotions. Can you see the wave, the picture of the wave? Do you have this feeling? Did you get this feeling sometimes inside your body?
For me, it feels like electricity flowing all over my body.
Electricity?
Yes.
When you're having strong emotions?
Correct.
Yeah. Electricity, interesting. And so how do they, like, so what, is like a storm? It's like lightning?
Yeah, I think storm is the right word for it. I just feel like there's a lot of sparks just going over in my head, in my chest, in my back.
That's interesting. And then how do you process, like, does it eventually fade?
One of the things that I've been learning to do is, really getting connected to mindfulness practice. So a good habit that I have is, whenever I'm feeling like that, I'll take 10 to 5 minutes and just sit, pay attention to my breath and really close my eyes and feel my heartbeat. And eventually it just wears off.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. A storm will eventually wears off. The same as a wave. For me, I feel it more like waves, but yeah, like stormy waves. So there's still the storm element. And it's exactly this. If you like recognizing that our emotions and our feelings, it's like a nature mechanism. It has nothing to do with us, with who we are, and it's something we feel, just like nature has these elements. So just observing and letting it develop like a big storm or develop like a big waves, and then after a while it will go away. But when you don't just let it go through you, you kind of you try to push it or shove it under the rug, and actually it doesn't go away. Maybe it will go away momentarily. You might think it does, but surprise, it goes back even stronger and stronger, because whatever we resist persists. Have you heard that phrase before? Whatever we resist persists. So I think it's really important to develop compassion here. Like imagine, maybe you have children, maybe you don't, but you've been a child and you probably have children in your life somehow. So imagine the child is having a very intense emotion. What would you say to the child?
But I think for me personally, initially, what comes to mind is to get curious and ask them, how do they feel about what they're feeling?
Yes.
Maybe I would ask to express their emotions.
Yeah. But now imagine the emotion is so intense that they actually have no words to express it. They are the top of the wave or the storm. And it's like, maybe the only thing they want to do is scream.
Yes.
You know, no words.
It is also a way of expressing emotions. Screaming, maybe running. So it is a way of letting go of emotions.
Letting go?
I think
Yes, and processing. I want to share in my part. There was some unpleasant situation a few days ago. So one child, it was 13, 14 years old, came into the school and killed 14 people. So it is also a way of expressing suppressed emotions.
Yeah.
So that's why I would encourage always, no matter children or clients, to express their emotions in a safe place, not to allow them to suppress emotions and then there must be processed somehow.
Yeah, totally.
Yes, very, very sad situation, but that was happened.
Thank you for sharing. I like to imagine, like, to help me remember, because I'm a human being. So of course, sometimes I want to fight against my emotions, but it's always reminding yourself to go back to compassion and acceptance. It's like, imagine you take some sand in your hand and you want to keep it, and you clench your fist and you're like, I want to keep this sand. Well, it just goes away, and it doesn't, like, you imagine if sand is calm, you want to feel calm and you grab the sand. I want calm in my hand. But if you do like this, it will go away. Whereas if you open your palm and you let it be, then it will stay. The sand will stay. So it's like remembering to open your hand, open your fist. It can be a way for you to remember. I have to process this emotion. It's better for me.
However, what initially came to my mind, I remember Adrian actually shared with us an experience with his own kid. And one of the things that he suggested, and maybe Adrian, if he's there, he can also back this up, is to, direct their awareness to another part of their body that they're not experiencing that emotion. Yeah, so it requires you to really get connected to them, pay a space lead instead of trying to, put them in a place where that you got to be where they are and try to guide them through that process. But it comes with practice, I'll assume.
Yes, it comes with practice. And my point is, why don't we do it to ourselves? We're still big children. Yeah, we are adults and grown-ups, but are we really?
I like that.
Most of us haven't learned how to process our emotions in a healthy way, which means that this part of our brain is still kind of acting like a child. And when we feel like, okay, maybe it's not going to be a tantrum the way a child would do it, but I'm sure you've witnessed or maybe even did yourself an adult tantrum.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And that's because your inner child is running the show. The inner child who is still in you, who doesn't feel safe, who hasn't learned how to process, how to deal with their emotions. They are like, listen to me. My needs are not met. Something is making me feel unsafe. So it can be, as you said, the child feeling stressed, but it could be something else. So paying attention, learning to pay attention to that is super important. And how do we pay attention to our needs and to what's good for us? It's accessing our inner wisdom. And a great way to access our inner wisdom is to tune to our senses. These are our clues. These are how we perceive the world, through our senses. And somehow that's, like when we have babies, even in the mom's belly, that's how we experience life. And then somehow we learn to detach from that when we grow up. Yes, of course, we like to go to the restaurant and eat a good meal, but do we really pay attention to it? Do we really process it with mindfulness? How do we say that? Mindfully? You know what I mean? And we tend to learn to pay too much attention to rationality and logic. I mean, logic and rationality, they have their place, but it's not everything. Tuning to all of your senses makes you feel so much more relaxed and good and smiling and joyful. How would you like to feel like this every day, at least some part of the day every day? Or do you have to wait until your holidays? Like, do you have to not feel this almost all year long and just go to that only for this special 2 weeks, 3 weeks if you're lucky per year? What do you think?
Every day.
Yes, every day. Tuning in yourself, like not letting the hustle and bustle get to you. I know it's hard. I'm not saying you can always not let the hustle and bustle get to you. And yes, we cannot go on a holiday in the countryside every day for sure. And as you say, we have to work and stuff to do for sure. I totally agree. But if you if you slow down, remember what we said before, when you get this, when you try to push through and say, yeah, but I have to do this and that, it's actually making things even worse. It's like creating imagine there is mud, a pile of mud, and then you're adding more mud to it. Or, okay, since we talk about the countryside, imagine there is a pile of cow's poo. It's quite stinky, and then you add more to it and more to it. It's gonna get stinker and stinker. I think it's the same with stress and overwhelm. But if we take the time, slowly we stop, okay, I'm going to remove this cow's poo one by one, remove it, then it stops smelling. So the goal that I want to inspire you to try in your time is to tune into your senses every day a little bit. It doesn't have to be long. So how can you tune in to your senses in the city? It doesn't have to be in the countryside. So through movement, if you cannot access the countryside and walk in nature, how could you walk somewhere that is in nature? Maybe there are some gardens in Shanghai. Maybe you can cross a garden. Maybe you can visualize the garden every day. You have a picture. This we'll talk about later. It's the visual sense, but thanks to our senses, if we tune to them and we develop them, we can access the virtue of them without feeling it, without actually being in the situation. Like, you know, you can always remember a moment. Think of a moment, Jay, when you were in nature, when you were in the countryside, when you were in holiday. You can close your eyes, think of it, and really be there and notice and feel and perceive how you felt. See if you can connect as well through your memories and your imagination. And even if you like, you can also reap benefits from little things like shaking, just shaking. Like animals, have you noticed how they shake off their body after a stressful, scary event? So maybe you have a tough day at work, and maybe even during the day. I wish I had known that when I was working in a big corporate, stressful environment. But just stop, go to the bathroom or go outside if you can. But if you cannot, just go and hide in the bathroom and just shake, 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 shake for a few seconds. It may seem not much, but it really makes a difference. It really feels good. It increases the blood flow. It's a great way to release the stress. You can walk, so if you can go back from walk by walk, especially in the evening, and when you walk, you pay attention to everything, to what you see, you smell, you hear. It helps. Taking an activity, a sport, and doing some stretching in yoga as well. Just make sure to have a bit of movement in your day. Really helps. And then there is the sense of smell. How can you access it every day?
Incense are really good, and as well as, you know, the oils. Oils are magical.
Yes, oils are magical. Oils are magical. If you can install some oils in your office, in workspace, that would be great. Here I talk about aromatherapy. Personally, I love ylang when I need courage to focus on something difficult. Lavender to release anxiety and to help me go to sleep when I'm stressed. Bergamot as well to stimulate positive energy. These are just a few examples. You can also drink herbal tea, and then, you know, as you drink, you also smell it. But even without this, like whatever you eat or drink, you can like I imagine many of you drink coffee. So imagine you go in the morning and get your coffee. How about you take a few seconds to really smell it, and even close your eyes and let it in, soak in the energy, instead of drinking super fast and drinking it while you walk and while you take the metro and rushing. Just stopping a few seconds and get the smell would really, especially if you associate it with good things, if it helps. Of course, if you don't like it, don't smell it. but find something that helps you to feel good and safe. You can also find something that relates to your childhood memory, like happy memories. Like for me, I love the smell of candy floss. Or I grew up in France, so partly in France. So for me, the smell of freshly baked bread with melted butter, even if I don't eat this every day, and I love the smell, even if I don't have it with me. When I was living in Shanghai, sometimes I would feel depressed and sad, and I could just close my eyes and remember the smell in the morning when I was walking by the bakery early morning, and they were, they had this freshly baked bread out of the oven, and just thinking about this, it helps to relax. Then there's the taste. That's really important for us human beings. It's really important. It also stimulates the smell. So that's a great way to feel good. And even if at lunch you're eating something bland, if you're not lucky, you can just imagine the taste of, if you're a chocolate lover, if you eat, like imagine the taste of a little bit of chocolate, how it melts inside in your mouth. And by the way, I would encourage you to eat very slowly and be mindful and show every bite, and close your eyes and imagine the piece of chocolate slowly, slowly melting, and the richness of the flavor. Soaking in your whole being. There are a lot of taste and a lot of things that, like tuning to different taste and playing with that, being curious, can help you also to regulate your nervous system. Some plants are more, some foods are more calming, some are more energetic and everything. And for those of you who live in China, this is perfect, because Chinese medicine is really big in healing through natural ingredients. So you can explore. I would encourage you to explore that. I'm not going to go into details, because otherwise, we never have time to finish, but it's to give you some ideas, really, the purpose of this today. And then visual, we human beings are very, very, very visual species. And so I know in Shanghai, you don't really see the stars. This is true. But you can see the sun. You can see the sun, and sun gazing. Of course, you have to do it early morning or right before sunset, like not in the middle of the day, because it's dangerous, but just a little bit. Gazing captive energy and develop your memory and strengthening clarity and all of that. Whereas moon gazing, I think the moon is still quite big. It was the full moon 2 days ago. So tonight you can look through the window and gaze at the moon for a few minutes. It will help to promote relaxation, compassion, and creativity. Or looking at nature. So yes, walking, like traveling and spending a weekend in nature is amazing. If you cannot, you can look through your holiday pictures or find some videos online. There are so many ways you can see it, you can access the beauty of nature. And I'm not talking about something that is going to radically change your life. It's little things. Remember, as we said, the beauty of the little things every day. This is the idea. Learn to soothe yourself every day a little bit. And by the way, that's something we can do anywhere, is paying attention to our environment. Wearing specific colors, because colors have a different emotional vibration. So wearing different colors, you can notice and see when you wear blue, how do you feel, or when you wear pink, or when you wear red, and pay attention to that. For me, I know when I feel like I need to be nurtured and I need more softness, I wear pink. When I need more energy, I will wear red, for example. And when I need to feel more calm and relaxed, I would wear green, for example. And also making sure your space is organized and clean. I have some artworks, looking at arts. If you cannot look at nature, looking at arts is also an amazing way to relax and to distress. Beauty. Beauty is a wonderfully distressor for us. And then the hearing, the sounds. Like who loves to hear the rain falling here? In Shanghai, it rains a lot, so I'm sure you have plenty of occasions to soak in the rain. Sounds of water are supposed to be even more healing than the rest for many, many people. It has something very calming and relaxing, but maybe for you, it would be more like bird songs or the sound of wind or some soft music. If you can in your office, if you can listen to some, have your earpods, you can put some soothing music or binaural beats to help focus, for example. If you walk back home in the park, pay attention to the sound. Also, something I love is listening to the sound of my steps on the floor, on the ground. That's really, it's accessible to everyone. And you will notice that it has kind of a hypnotic hypnotic state, you know, clap, 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 you hear your steps, and after a while you kind of, you can remove your attention from the rest and you get inwards. There is another sound that is really important, and I think we don't get enough of this in our lives, is silence. Silence is super important. I would encourage you to challenge yourself to spend 1 week in silence when you go back home, not listen to the radio, not listen to any podcast, to any video, any movie, any film, nothing, just silence. You and your thoughts, you and yourself, you and the sounds of your environment. Sometimes you just have too much information getting in. And by being quiet, we can access the sound of our voice, of our inner voice, our inner wisdom. Sound healing. You know, there's the Tibetan bowls, I know, quite popular in Shanghai, but also listening to binaural beats in many ways. But one way I like, and it's free, it's humming and singing. Singing releases endorphins, and you can do it when you walk, but you can also do it at home. If you can get a few of primal screams, that's a challenge for you. A 5-minute session of a few primal screams, it really helps to release anger and frustration. And otherwise, you can also find some yoga techniques, pranayama techniques. I like the lion's breath one, but there are many, many ways. And another way I love is humming. Like when I walk, sometimes when I have too much in my head and I don't know how to take a decision or what I'm going to say and everything, I walk and I start humming as I walk. And I just hum without thinking about anything, like trying to detach from any meaning. And as I hum, I find words come to my mind. Ideas start to flow. So humming, children, they have a lot of wisdom. Children tend to hum a lot and somehow we stop. But it's really useful. It's really beneficial. And finally, the sense of touch, which is very, very, very important for us human beings. We need physical contact. And I know it has been difficult this past few years with COVID, but you can always touch yourself. You can always massage yourself and practice. Great thing is when you take a shower is to take the time to really massage yourself at the end of a long day. it boosts immune system, and also it kind of develop trust with yourself. So that's great. And if you have pets, cuddle your pets. Grounding, now it's good season for grounding. If you can spend 5-10 minutes in the grass or on earth barefoot, it really helps. It really regulates the nervous system. Another way, which I love, is textile. Playing with fabric as well. Playing with fabric, playing with paint, Play-Doh. You know, a lot of people take up ceramic as a hobby because it's very relaxing. But you can also just play with food. When you cook food, just take the time to feel it. If you buy some bread, really feel it in your hands, for example. Or if you wear soft clothes, just you can, if you feel very stressed, you can just stroke your arm and just, it helps to relax. Does anyone have a question about this before I go to the next step? No? Yes?
I just want to say that it is very important for all of us to connect with ourselves, to find time, maybe 1 hour during the day, just to connect with yourself and to do something about ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If you can spare 1 hour, it's great. And a little goes a long way. If it seems too much, you can start with 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and then the more you do that, the more time you will find you have for that, and then you can build up to 1 hour. I want to talk about the sixth sense, which is intuition. I know a lot of people ask me, how do you know if it's my intuition speaking or what, like the ideas I have in my head? We learn a lot to bypass our intuition and listening to what other people think, for example. So as Darko said, when you tune into yourself, you can just more know, you develop a relationship with yourself, really, and then it's easier to connect your intuition into your inner wisdom. It's wisdom, it's already there, and we all have it. We all have it. We don't need to be psychic to have access to intuition. And by tuning into our senses, we can access it by slowing down a little bit. And like everything I shared before about all of these senses, these are all ways that we perceive the world. So in a way, it's like it helps you to access your intuition by tuning in to how you perceive the world, you yourself as a unique person, because we all, even if we touch, like imagine we all eat a piece of chocolate. We're not going to feel it the same way exactly. It's going to be different for each of us. We listen to the rain falling. It's still going to be a little bit different. It's really unique to us. And like often intuition can seem not logical. It can be a bit strange, but it's really important. It doesn't rely on logic. It doesn't rely on reasonable. It doesn't rely on professional. It doesn't rely on all of that. The intuition is with a kind of wisdom that can see far away, and very often it makes sense later on. Then in hindsight, I understand. So it's like, trusting your gut. And it helps to develop creativity, of course, but it's not exclusive to creative arts. Like Dino shared in the beginning, he found another way to be creative. He found his own creative strength. And And actually, intuition is the connection to the subconscious. That's how it communicates to us. The conscious mind is only 10%. It only enables 10% of what we do, of who we are and everything in our life. The subconscious is in charge of 90%. So the subconscious is the boss of us, definitely. That's why it's really important to have the subconscious mind on board, you know, because most of the time it's on autopilot. We try to, with our society, we try to privilege the conscious mind. We value willpower, logical thinking, critical thinking, often short-term memory, you know, short-term vision of stuff. And we want to see all the steps. We want to know what's going to happen. And if I do this, what's going to happen, and all of that. And I find this very rampant in business, in the business world, in marketing and business, when we try to manipulate outcomes. And okay, maybe it has its share, fine, but only 10%. It's much, much more important to be aware and clear on our beliefs, our values, our emotions, the emotions we saw before, our habits, the power of habits on our brain, long-term memory. So it's not only about what's going to happen tomorrow, it's about the future. Imagination and, well, our intuition, because that's what's going to take the decision. All of this, yeah. The subconscious has one mission, is to protect you. It wants to serve you, protect you, to keep you alive. It doesn't know when it's being harmful. He thinks it's helping you. So it takes only specific orders. We need to access the subconscious in a clear way. If we don't give our subconscious, if we don't learn to develop a relationship with our subconscious, it will take orders from elsewhere. Family, society, conditioning, social media, advertising. That's why very often, maybe you've experienced that, you think you want something, but actually you're behaving or you're doing something differently. And maybe you find yourself leading a life that actually it was not what you wanted. Or maybe you made some choices that, like, why did I do that? Because you were not clear with yourself, with your subconscious. Subconscious is very creative, and it works with feelings, senses, images, and metaphors. It doesn't rely on logic. That's why, that's even more why learning to rely to your feelings, emotions, senses is super important, to connect to all of this. It really helps to talk to your subconscious. And I find the subconscious is a bit like a child, you know, it's creative, and it relies on, it likes specific orders, and it relies on intensity and repetition. It needs to repeat in order to learn. Yeah, that's why, like, NLP is great for that, because it helps to rewire and reprogram your pathways. You can reprogram your subconscious. Yeah, so this is a great way. So how can you access it? Well, breathing helps you to access to inner wisdom. Mindfulness. So that's what we saw, accessing, tuning into your senses and being mindful of what's around you and what's within you. Meditation, it helps you to still your mind. Journaling is it helps to put to paper the voice of your heart and the voice of your soul when you're not to control. Like at the beginning, maybe it will be difficult, but the more you journal, the more you will see it's actually subconscious talking. And finally, hypnosis. Hypnosis is a deep state of meditation, and it helps to access your subconscious. And one way, this leads me to creativity, as we saw, when you activate your subconscious, you can awaken your creativity. You see possibilities when before you could see obstacles. So before, maybe you saw, I live in a big city and it's stressful and I have to work hard and I have no choice. But is it true? What if there were other possibilities? What if I could see the situation in a different way? Another way I think it's another exercise. This one is a creative exercise to awaken your creativity, is to start your day with a creative warm-up, to loosen up and let the creative juices flow. You know, when you start, like when you do some sport, you're supposed to do a warm-up. It's the same when you start your day of work. I think doing a little warm-up for the mind and the brain is super important. So it could be a bit of automatic writing. For me, it's doodling. I love doodling. So I like to spend the morning 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Sometimes I put music, sometimes not. And I just scribble and doodle. And that's a great way to detach, to distress, to detach the mind from outcomes, from trying to control things. It's like, you know, letting go, connecting to our brain, but like getting out of our head. You know, we're getting in our head while getting out of our head at the same time. Cooking, I think when you have the time to prepare your breakfast, it's also a great way to distress and start the day in a creative way. And finally, developing the habit of doing creative visualization, dreaming. I say creative visualization, but it's also daydreaming, dreaming. It's essential to keep our heart and soul growing in balance. You know, it's not all hustle and bustle. When we allow ourselves to dream and to see, to imagine different possibilities and explore and curious, we can have more love, more purpose in our life. We can contribute in a more beneficial way. For me, it's like weaving together more beauty into the world. And that's how we can thrive, when we feel that every part of us is on board with what we're doing. It's not like we are removing some parts of us. Our mind is present, our subconscious is present, our intuition, our body, all our senses. We are here, we are all aligned. We like all of these parts are aligned. And that's how we also get more, we can have more courage and more faith, and more courage to do difficult things, and more faith that we can overcome any obstacles.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.